Welcome everybody to our topics at 12 today. We are very excited to be here. We have been presenting our COVID-19 series with Ruben Gonzalez. Thank you to all of our sponsors, particularly Ms. Susan Reagan with the Small Business Center at Rockingham Community College. Also to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Office with Rockingham County Economic Development, and Team Reidsville. Also, we are being produced by Rockingham Update and Roy Sawyers, who's also going to be bringing us a tech tip today. So today's topic is the changing customer demands after COVID-19, but we're going to start with that tech tip. Roy Sawyers, take it away.
Thank you, Diane. Today's tech tip is 8 best practices for business email etiquette from Indeed.com. Real quickly, if we can bring that slide up. Thank you. There it is. 1, draft a clear and simple subject line. Number 2, use a standard font for consistency. 3, address your recipient formally. 4, use the carbon copy feature and blind carbon copy appropriately. Structure your message clearly is tip number 5. Tip number 6, provide a call to action at the end. Something along the lines of, I look forward to hearing from you soon. I look forward to working with you on this project, things of that nature. Number 7, include a professional closing with regards, thank you for your service. And 8, proofread your email carefully. This is something I definitely need to work on a lot myself, is the proofreading, because I'm real quick to hit that send button. These were 8 best practices for business email etiquette, brought to you by Indeed.com. Diane?
Thank you so much, Roy. Great tips as always. I will admit I'm also quick to hit that send button. And that goes not just for emails. I think we do a lot of business nowadays with text messaging and Zoom, as you had great Zoom tips on our last series, and also in just Facebook messaging for your business. That's really important. So people really contact us in lots of ways. So just be sure with technology, folks, that you are proofreading, because it is very important. Ruben's going to give us a great seminar today, and we just like to thank everybody. Also, if you weren't able to join us live, it will be available via the access channels and our social media outlets as always, and our website. So thank you for joining us, and Ruben, please take it away.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. And as they mentioned, we'll be recording this. So even though those aren't zoomed in right now, they can always take a look at the recording. Yeah, so and continuing on with our series, it's all about the COVID-19. But I am going to talk about that a little bit today, but in general as well, we're just talking about customers in general, and how customers needs change, how customers demand changes, how customers' outlook on the current marketplace changes as well. And as a business person, as those customers change, then you're called upon to evaluate the changes as well, so you can make some changes in your own business. Last week we talked a lot about pivoting, but because of the COVID-19, but most businesses, all businesses should be stay loose and nimble, be ready to pivot, because many things happen in the local marketplace over the course of time, over the course of a year. If you're lucky enough to be in a retail business that follows the seasonality of customer purchasing, there are some built-in pivot points during the course of the year. If you're in retail, you know what I'm talking about. We got the beginning of the year, we'll have Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter, then we roll into the summertime sales season, and then we roll into the fall season, sales season, and then we roll into the holiday season, and then it repeats again, starting at the first of the year. So yeah, those are some built-in pivoting points during the normal businesses, retail life. If you're not in retail and you're in some other industry, well, you should know what these major pivoting points are during the calendar year. You should know when your seasonality of your sales in your business are going to be. Is it a fall business? Is it spring business, summertime business, winter business, that type of thing. So yeah, you have to have a good handle on the seasonality of your business. I had some friends not too long ago opened up they're very much into tennis, and they wanted to open up a tennis shop. But that's very seasonal, right? Just during the summertime, maybe spring, maybe early fall. But the good number of months of the year, no one's playing tennis unless you play indoors, and there's not enough indoor courts to sustain demand there. But so they knew they needed another sideline beside tennis, so they actually opened the tennis and ski shop, is what they opened, so that during the winter time they're going to have products and services that their customers have in demand. So that type of looking at the seasonality of your business and providing products or services that can be used year round gives you an opportunity to have what we call more continuous flow of cash in your business. Your sales is a more continuous flow. You're not going to have a lot of ups and downs where sometimes during the year you're not going to have any business, and other times of the year you'd be really busy. So that's what I mean about keeping abreast of what your customers are asking for. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that market environment for businesses. We're going to talk about the new demands brought about by COVID-19. We're going to talk about did that change your competitive advantage position. We'll talk a little bit about that new message in your marketing campaigns that might have to be developed because of the changing demands. We'll talk a little bit about the new platforms that you might have to utilize now. We'll talk about new measurements for measuring the effectiveness of your business marketing. And we'll talk about do all those lead to new budgets and new working capital demands too that you might have to have. So a number of topics to discuss today. Yeah, so today when you look at the market environment, what has changed in the marketplace? The biggest change, of course, is the COVID-19. But markets change from season to season, year to year, like I was reflecting on. So you need to be aware of what's going on, what kind of changes are happening, and so forth. So here we have the next bullet. So what effect did that change have on your business? For a lot of businesses, the effect was a drop-off in sales, a drop-off in revenue. However, there's some other businesses that didn't drop off a whole lot in revenue. One of the ones that comes to my mind very quickly is lawn care businesses. Right off the bat, from day one, they talked about a business that didn't really drop off in sales was lawn care. Just that people were spending more time at home, so they wanted to spend more time working in the yard, so to speak. So garden products, yard sale products, yard upkeep products, they were all in great demand. So, they stayed effectively busy. One of the suppliers to yard care, like Lowe's and Home Depot, their businesses did not drop off either. We have a neighborhood garden place here in our community, and it didn't drop off. I talked to the gentleman not too long ago, and did as much business as he did last year at the same time. So not every business dropped off. So the market environment is changing, but it might not just be a drop off in business. And in effect, if you're doing more business, then that's also a change, and you have to be prepared for that change. So has the market changed? Has they made available new customers for you? Are there new customers out there? So if there's new demands that the customer is expecting, and you can offer products or services that meet that demand, then you can attract new customers. You can attract new customers. Hopefully you've been keeping in contact with your old customers too. It's just not all about new customers, it's all about old customers. I'll talk a little bit more about that, reaching out to old customers and marketing. But yeah, hopefully the changing markets, the changing environment, new demands, it gives you an opportunity to attract some new customers. Real quickly, if you have a product or service that meets the current demands, and that's going to be great for you. If you don't have any products or services that are currently meeting the new demand, then you need to bring some new products and services on board, because there are new customers out there, And the only way you're going to attract those new customers is to have new products and new services that can attract them over to you. Yeah, well, sometimes some changes in your business operation might require, changes in your staff as well. If you have new products and services, you might need new staff that's familiar with that type of products and services. So keeping abreast of what your staff is doing is very, very important. Also, the number of staff that you have. If your business falls off on one product line, one service line, you might have to adjust staff to meet the new demands of that new product, new service need that you have. So you have to keep abreast of your staff. A lot of this stuff is just intuitive to most businesses, but now's a good time to make sure you're following up, making sure you're staffed properly, because you don't want to have a lot of staff just sitting around not doing any work. New demands, new customers, maybe it's even calls for a new staff. Certainly, as I just mentioned, inventory. So if you look at the marketplace that you're in, the industry that you're in, and if trends are moving one way, well, you have to keep your inventory up to date as far as that trend line. You can't have a lot of old stuff on board that, even though it sold well last year, might not be selling as well this year with the new market changes. So, inventory, keeping abreast of what you have in inventory is very important. Those of us who are in businesses that have a lot of inventory commitment, there's a lot of cash. There's a lot of cash tied up in inventory. Unfortunately, it's an asset, but it's tied up in an asset that's already been bought, and it might not fit the current marketplace demands. So you need to keep abreast of your inventory on an ongoing basis. And this is a piece of advice for any time you're in business, not just during a pandemic, but at any time you should keep abreast of your inventory, have a good handle on what is current and what is not. And if you have some old stuff in inventory, you need to get rid of that stuff so you can get some cash so you can buy new inventory, or cash that you can use for working capital to keep your business afloat. Yes, and all that might change the actual operation. So things you were doing before COVID, you might not be able to do after COVID. Things that you were doing before the change in demand, you have to look at your operation and change with the demand as well. So just to talk about this one topic right now, but I'm sure I'm going to cover it in a few more slides. But obviously the biggest demand for all businesses now has been, people don't want to go to the store, so they expect, to have a delivery or maybe a curbside service at the very least. And that might be something that even after COVID goes away, something you might continue. If it's a service that your customer has found very convenient, why wouldn't you keep it on in your operation? I think it'd be to your detriment not to keep it into your operation, which is going to affect, staff and so forth, and which all affects, the bottom line here, working capital, making sure you have enough working capital on hand so you can implement whatever demand changes are in effect and things that you want to do to make your business more successful. Got to have working capital on hand. So let's talk a little bit about that new demand. We have some examples here that I'm sure you've heard about, but are worth taking a look at. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, are worth taking a look at for their continued use in your business, not just a COVID-19 thing. These are convenience pieces that all businesses should be looking at. Remember, your business is run for the convenience of your customers. It's not run for your convenience. It's run for the convenience of your customers. Of course, the big demand because of COVID is safety. People just want to feel safe. So whatever it takes, extra cleaning services, getting in early to make sure your shop is clean and sanitized, staying late to make sure it's sanitized and clean. But there's a lot going on as far as safety goes. So you have to be on top of the new demands for COVID-19. And as you move forward again, customers want to go into a nice, clean facility. When I talk about cleanliness and clean and safety, I always talk about when I'm traveling with my 3 daughters. I have 3 daughters and a wife. And as we traveled about the country or to the beach or something like that, I said, well, let's stop here. We'll get something to eat, or let's stop here. We'll use the facilities. Let's stop here, that kind of stuff like that. all four of them take a look outside and say, no, shake the head. We're not stopping here, because they expect a certain level of convenience. They expect a certain level of cleanliness and safety in the places they stop. And that was even before COVID-19, right? So yeah, clean, safe environment, if you have a brick and mortar location, is something that customers are going to want and they're going to expect. Okay, and just convenience in general. What do you get when you have convenience? When your business is very convenient, what does the customer really get from that? What's the real benefit from a business that is very convenient? Think about that a while. What is the customer really getting? You know what it is? It's time. Convenience saves a customer time. Time is a big valued commodity in small business, especially in small business. The more time you can save a customer, the more likely they're going to continue to use you. No one likes to waste time. I hate to waste time. When you get to be a little bit older like myself, we start counting the time that we have left. And I don't like to waste any of it. When you're young, when you're a teenager, you don't count. But when you're middle age and you start to get up in age, you start counting the time a little bit more critically. And it's a valuable commodity. And nobody likes to waste time. So all small business is all about saving people time by being more convenient. And I think you see all these things I have here listed here. This all talks about basically saving people time. For instance, delivery. Whether it's a food business you're in or some other type of retail business you're in, if you're delivering things, that's very convenient, and people want to take advantage of that to save some time. Pickup, even though they have to get in their car and travel over there, if you have a pickup line, it still saves people time because they don't have to get out of the car and shop. And all that could be propelled forward by having a website that you have online ordering. So people can make up their mind ahead of time before they even get in their car. That's going to save them time too. Nobody wants to go to a place and look at a menu and waste time standing there, trying to order, especially in a time of COVID-19. So yeah, being able to have that convenience of people to order via your website, online ordering is an excellent means to sustaining business and bringing in new business. So if you're in business now and you don't have that option in your online website, make sure you implement the ability for people to order online. And it's not just ordering products. Sometimes it's just ordering services, people making reservations and so forth and so on. The more people can do online, the more convenient you can make it for them, the more likely they're going to continue to use you. Number 4, your website. If you don't have a website, you better start getting one. Start working on that, because you're going to have to update that website to make sure you have online ordering and people can see your products and services in one place online. So hopefully everybody has a website already. Number 5 here, does the new demands in the marketplace, is that going to make you have to get new equipment? So that's always an important evaluation. Can you provide the service, the new service? Can you address the new demand with the equipment you have in place already? If not, will you have to get new equipment? Will you have to get new equipment so you can move forward with the new demands that the marketplace is presenting to you? So very important. And that kind of goes to the bottom one there, number 7. Yeah, you probably need some more working capital. If you're going to have to get new equipment in, new materials, new supplies to address the new demand in the marketplace, well, you might have to have more capital on hand to make that happen. Probably mention working capital as we go along, but obviously those businesses who have a good quality amount of working capital on hand that you can get to quite quickly, those businesses were able to adjust to the new demands of COVID-19. And those businesses in general, whether it's COVID-19 or just a changing business environment that we see year to year in general, having working capital on hand is very critical to that. The experts say you should have 2 or 3 months worth of working capital, enough working capital to cover 2 or 3 months of expenses. I'll say that again. So yeah, experts say you should have 2 to 3 months of working capital on hand. That should be enough to cover 2 or 3 months worth of expenses. That way, when you do hit a downturn in your operation, you have working capital to cover the loss of sales revenue over a period of time. And for a lot of businesses who hit the downturn in March and April, they were able to bring services and products online in May and June. And for a lot of businesses, even those that were greatly affected by the COVID-19, they've rebounded to a certain extent already. So yeah, keep abreast of what's going on and make sure you have the enough working capital on hand so that you can address those new demands, because you might need to get more equipment, different staff, more inventory, and so forth. So having working capital on hand is definitely a key component of sustaining through a downturn in an economy, no matter if it's a COVID downturn or other type of downturn. In a business is really successful because they have some competitive advantage over the competition. There's some competitive advantage you have. In a restaurant, you just might have the best shrimp and grits recipe in the Southeast. In a construction business, you might just have the best carpenters that do a really good job, have the best skill level. In the medical field, you just might have the best staff that knows what they're doing. And in the clothing industry, you might have the latest trends, and that you have and your competition doesn't. It doesn't have to be in the product or the service. It could just be in technology. A competitive advantage is that a lot of businesses found themselves with that other business didn't have were some of those things we talked about on the previous slide. They were already set up for delivery. They were already set up for curbside service. So already being set up gave those businesses a real competitive advantage over competitors who didn't have those things set up. Of course, there was time, and there still is time, to bring those things on board, to bring those operations on board so you could be more competitive. But did you have a competitive advantage before? What was it? Most businesses are successful because they had a competitive advantage. They have a competitive advantages that separates them from the local competition. You have to have something. And it's not just bricks and mortar. Whatever product or service you're providing in an online atmosphere or in a delivery atmosphere, you have to have some advantage over your competition. Otherwise, why are people going to come to you? Why are people going to use you over somebody else? So you have to have some competitive advantage. So it could be your advantage could be in your products that you're selling that your competition doesn't have. The advantage could be in the services you're providing that the competition doesn't have. The advantages could be in the type of operation you have that your competition can't match. It could be just all based on your marketing message, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So yeah, what is this advantage you have? So now, with the downturn, it has that competitive advantage. Is that competitive advantage still valid, or do you need to come up with a new competitive advantage? Has the marketplace changed to the point now you need to bring something else to the table that's going to give you a distinct competitive advantage over the competition? So based on the new demand, can you pivot and change to what's new? And is that going to give you a competitive advantage? You certainly want to keep up with the competition just in terms of the general operation that you're in. You don't let them get ahead of you just in general. But over and above that, what else can you bring to the marketplace that will give you a competitive advantage over your competition? What edge will it give you? Hopefully it'll make you stand out from the crowd. So really right now, if you jumped into the marketplace and say, I can deliver, that's not really a big competitive advantage because everybody is delivering. So can you come up with something else? Can you pivot because of the changes and bring something on board, again, whether it's product or service driven, that's going to give you a distinct competitive advantage over the competition? And I'm going to talk about that, but the essence of good marketing is talking about what your competitive advantage is. I'll talk about that a little bit more in another slide. Okay, so whatever this new demand is in your current operation, do you have the space for it? You know, if it's some type of special inventory, large type of inventory, do you have the space for that inventory? So you have to look at your operation critically. Not all visible competitive advantage, you might not be able to implement all because you might not have the space. Do you have the staff too? You have to have an experienced staff to provide that service or to produce that product. So just because you have identified a competitive advantage for that's meeting current demand in the marketplace, you're not automatically going to be able to provide that if you don't have the staff. And the next one, if you don't have the money. If you don't already have that on hand, it's going to be pretty hard to provide that product or that service without the money that's going to be necessary to purchase the inventory, to develop the staff to produce that product, or to have the space in which to house that product, the new product or new service. So just realizing what a product or service advantage would be doesn't necessarily make it happen if you don't have space, staff, and money. And time. And time. Do you have time to do that? Do you have time to make these changes? Do you have time to make those changes? And if all that works for you, then you might have a new advantage. And that's the last bullet here. So do you have a new advantage? Do you have an opportunity to carve another niche in your industry locally that's going to give you, an opportunity to bring more customers on board? Can you carve a new competitive advantage in the existing marketplace? And you really have to, because again, people are going to be looking for the latest trends. People are going to be looking for the latest convenience. So you have to be willing to pivot to meet those changes and to meet those new demands. And hopefully out of all that, you can carve yourself a new competitive advantage that nobody else has, that nobody else has thought of. So something new, innovative. Again, it doesn't have to be a product or service. It could be in the operation itself, but something you're going to have in this new environment that makes you stand out from the crowd. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to stand out from the crowd. And what that new thing is, whatever that is, that's going to be a new message for your advertising. That's how you're going to reach customers with the new message. You can't just rely on your old message. Whatever your old message was, and hopefully you all had a message of some sort that you relied upon on your marketing, on your advertising. This is not necessarily an advertising marketing seminar here that I'm doing, but we're talking about the message, and the new message is what you're going to be advertising. So it might be, you deliver now, that you deliver now. So when you send out your Facebook message, you send out your Instagram message, when you send out your email blast to all your old customers, when you send out new flyers, so forth and so on. If you send out a mailer, if you send out a mailer for a coming up quarter that's coming up, you should be talking about your new message. A new message should, what's the new message? So hopefully it's a new message you develop based on the current demands that the COVID-19 pandemic has made you pivot to. That's your new message. It could be that delivery message, we now deliver. And that would be the lead message. A message that you hadn't delivered before, but now we now deliver, or we now have ordering online. So whatever your new message is, that's what you lead with in all your advertising. So that should highlight the changes you've made. So whatever changes you made, you want to highlight those in your marketing. Your old customers know all about you. Don't tell them what you've already been doing for the last 10 years. Tell them what new stuff you're doing, the new things that you brought on hand, and you'll attract your new customers. Customers have a good feeling for what you've done before. So what makes customers want to come back to you at this point? You have something new. So it could be a new product. It could be a new service. It could be a new atmosphere in your place. It could be a new website. It could be a new promotion that you're doing or something. So that's and that becomes the headline message in your advertising. this new thing. Now that new message is your new competitive advantage. I'll repeat that. Your new message should be your new competitive advantage. Now, if you haven't discovered or developed a new competitive advantage, it's going to be pretty hard to have a new message. Basically, your message is going to be the same old message you've always had. We don't want that. We want you to change. We want you to pivot to the new demands of the marketplace by developing a new competitive advantage so that you have a new message, And that's what you highlight. Hopefully that's going to highlight this new convenience we talked about before. Yeah, that might be the whole thing. We deliver, we got curbside pickup or so forth and so on. So a new convenience. You can order online now. If that's what you've developed, the convenience of customers ordering online, well, that's your message. Some kind of headline broadcast. We now have online ordering. That's what you're going to advertise now. That's what's going to be the new message. You should highlight the new safety features you have. If you have a customer location where customers are going to come into a shop, you definitely want to highlight the new safety measures that are in place. Because right now, people want to know what those are. People want to know what those are. So you would highlight those. You could also highlight the difference between old and new in your operation. So yeah, we used to do it this way, but now we do it this way. You know what? That's a good message. People are going to say, oh, especially if you had satisfied customers before, they would say, oh, I was so happy with it. What else? What do they have that's new now? So yeah, you can highlight the differences between old and new. The old might be you never had online ordering and now you do. The old might be you never had delivery, but now you do. The old might be people just crowded in shoulder to shoulder, but now, we've got more space and more opportunity for people to spread out, so forth and so on. The old might be you had X amount of staff on hand, but now you have extra staff on hand to make sure things stay clean and operations stay more safely. So yeah, you can highlight the difference between the old and the new. And most importantly is this last one here. Your new message should highlight the difference between you and the competition. When you think about it, advertising, marketing, it's basically saying, I've got it and he doesn't. It's basically what it is. We've got it, they don't. So make sure what you have, make sure it really is different than what your competition has. And that becomes the centerpiece of your new message. Look we've got it and they don't. That's basically what advertising is. I have it, he doesn't. That's basically what marketing is. So what is this difference then between you and the competition? And that difference should be something that offers your customer, convenience and safety. And hopefully it's something that they can't get anywhere else. So is it so? Do you have something that cannot be attained by your customers someplace else? If it is, well, that's your lead new message. That's your lead new message. I've got it and he doesn't. Now, you have to stay on top of it, because if you actually do come up with something like that, your competition is going to pick up on that pretty quickly, and they're going to start providing that service or that product. So this type of advantage you develop, or you could discover, doesn't stay there forever. Just like delivery. Delivery doesn't stay there forever. Everybody delivers now, just about everybody. So you have to come up with something on a continual basis to keep positioning yourself to stay ahead of your competition. And whatever that is, that becomes the message in your advertising, whether it's printed message, whether it's on your website message, whether it's broadcast through a social media platform, maybe you have it painted on the outside of your van, maybe it's on your business card, whatever that new message is, that's what's going to attract new business to your operation. So what is the message for your business? What was your old message, and what's going to be your new message based on the current changing demands of your new customers? Yeah, so if you have the new messages and you want to get it out there, make sure you're looking at your platforms very critically. Sometimes the old platforms might not work anymore. You know, every industry, every business has a different customer set. You know, we would all think that all our customers, that our business would appeal to all customers, you know, all ages, all backgrounds, male and female, big and small. You know, sometimes we think, you know, our products or our service appeals to everybody, but that's not the case. That's not the case. Usually your base customer is from a specific demographic characteristic. They're not everybody. You know, your product or service isn't going to appeal to everybody from the age of 5 to the age of 95. No, it's going to be a little smaller segment of the local population, the local marketplace. So looking at that critically enables you to look more critically at what your customers are going to be demanding. So based on that, have your customers change. So if they have changed and you have a new target customer, then, you know, will the old platform still work? You know, you had a target customer before, and I love that term there, terminology there, target customers, like somebody you're targeting. And it is, that's what advertising is. So you're targeting a new customer based on the current changes in the marketplace and what your new customers are looking for. So you might have a target customer. So if you have a new customer, will the old platform still work? Will the old way you have of advertising, is that still going to bring results? So you might have to look at new ways to reach out to customers. Hopefully you have a good solid base of old customers. So if they change, will the new platform still work to reaching out to them? We already talked about the message. Hopefully you realize that the old message might not be working anymore. So you have to come up with a new message. But now that you got a new message, you have to think of new ways to reach out to your customers. So what new platforms have come online that you might have to take advantage of? So if you never did any Instagram marketing before, maybe you need to start doing Instagram marketing now. You know, if you never thought about it before because you just didn't have the time, or you thought it was just too much work, now's the time to think about it. Now's the time to get into it, because new demands are requiring new messaging and marketing and new platforms to get that new message out there. So now's a good time to do that. If you haven't done a whole lot with your website in a couple of years, well, now's a good time to look at that again. Get busy with that. You know, update that. Get your new message on there. Hopefully you already have a pretty extensive list of regular a customer base already, and you already have all their email addresses. Well, now you need to send out a new email blast with your new message. Get the word out there. If you haven't used any of these social media platforms before, well, maybe now's a good time to look at them. And how much will that cost you? You know, things that you haven't done before, how much is it going to cost you to do now? People always talk about how social media can, in effect, be relatively cheap, even free. But you know what? It might not cost you any money out of your pocket, but I've always found social media to be expensive as far as time goes. Yeah, I'm pretty busy. During the COVID-19, my wife has been schooling our two 6-year-old granddaughters. We have school here every day in our house. I've got 2, 3 side jobs I'm doing. I'm working with businesses that are in trouble. They need help. I'm pretty busy, and it's hard. It's hard to get on social media and to update things. It's hard to put an ad on Facebook. It takes time and energy. It's hard to send out an Instagram post. It takes time, to do that. It takes time to do all types of social media. I do some blogging on a website. And it takes time to write that blog out. It takes time to post that and then look at the comments and go back to it and maybe comment on the comments. It takes time to do all this stuff. So even though a social media platform might be free as far as the money goes, it does take time, and there's a cost there. It's a cost in time. And as I mentioned before, for people who are a little bit older like myself, time is a valuable commodity. We might not have time. We don't have a lot of time to spend developing this, but you owe it to yourself and you owe it to a business. So if you haven't looked into these things before, now is the time to do it. Look at the new platforms that are available and see if they're going to match, the new demands for what you're going to be addressing in the local marketplace. Measurements. Yeah, new platforms, new advertising that you're doing, they need to be measured. They need to be measured. Hopefully you've had some measurements already in place on your old marketing. If you don't have measurements in place to look at and evaluate your success of your marketing, you've been missing the boat a little bit here. How do you know that your marketing is even working if you don't have some measurements there? So you got to have some measurements for your marketing to see if you're getting value for whatever you're spending, whether that's time, energy, or money. So if you had these measurements in place for many years because you were measuring your marketing value on an ongoing basis, do your old measurements still work? Will your old measurements still work for what you're trying to do? So, most advertising can be measured somehow. If you're using a firm that you're buying advertising from, or they're designing advertising from you, or they're selling you the product itself, like a TV station or other, you should ask them how the advertisement is going to be measured. How is that advertised going to be measured? If they can't offer you a measurement method to measure your advertising, I'd be hesitant to spend any money with them. Otherwise, how do you know it works? And most of your old guard marketing tools that are out there, they all come with ways to measure. They all come with ways to measure. Again, this isn't your marketing class, but there are ways to measure your marketing efforts. And you want to make sure that whatever you're bringing on board that's new, can there be an additional way to measure that? So that measurement is everything from a simple, coupon that you offer. And if people return the coupon to you, if they're bringing the coupon in, they must have saw it someplace. They got that coupon in that advertisement you sent out. So it's working. If you send out a bunch of coupons and none of them get redeemed, well, that means two things. One, it didn't attract the customer's attention because maybe you weren't giving away something that was worthwhile. Or two, it didn't really get to the customer. So so coupons are a way that a lot of advertisement is measured. And if it's an online advertisement that goes out or an advertisement that directs people to go to your website, then you have, your website should have a counter of some sort that develops an analytics in terms of, what pages on your website did people visit, what product pages did they go to, and so forth and so on. So that's kind of measurements available for your website as well. So whether you're doing old-fashioned mailings or old-fashioned coupons, or whether you're worried about your visits to your website, you should be developed some way to measure that. So if you change your concept in any way based on current demands, if you change your marketing message, you might have to see if you have to change your message, your measurement messages as well. I'm always interested about when you go to a big box store, like Lowe's or one of those, they always ask you for your zip code. And it's like, you know what? They can't do much with your zip code. It's not like they can send you a letter, right? They only have your zip code. So it's not really that valuable to them in terms of that reference, but it is value to them in terms of measurement. What they're doing is they're counting the customers that come in from the different zip codes. The key to measurement is that you have to be counting all along. You can't wait till the month you send out a new advertising to start counting. You want to know the count before the new advertisement. You want to know the count before the new message. You want to know the count before you send out the new message based on your new competitive advantage. If you don't know the count before that, then how do you know whether the count went up or down? So you can count the period of time, and you will count the period of time after your new message goes out. But if you don't have the period of time before, you'll have nothing to compare it to. So right now, today, commit to counting. Every time you have a new customer come into your store or visit your website, figure out some way to count them so that when you start sending out advertisements, you can count the change in the customer count from before new ad to after new ad. So what is Lowe's doing when they ask for your zip code? Well, in that new month that you're in, that new period you're in, they might have did a big advertising blast in a new zip code area. So they're going to start counting now every customer that comes in for that zip code area. Now, the previous period, several periods, they already know what the average customer count is from that zip code, whatever it is, 5,000, 10,000, 2,000, 200, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, they have that pre-advertisement, they have that count. And now that they're advertising in that zip code, now they have a current advertising count and an after the advertising count. And they would expect that advertising count to go up. They would expect traffic from that zip code to go up. And they'll get that evaluation when they can evaluate and compare the current and the after advertising count to the previous before advertising count. But you got to have both. You got to have both in measurement. So start counting. Start counting today. Hopefully you have an email list. You can send people email blasts. So there are a lot of online organizations that will help you. Constant Contact is a familiar name. MailChimp is not as familiar, but they do a good job too. And they'll be happy to send out some email blasts for you. But they have to have the email list of your customers. So now's the time to get that customer list up and running, get that customer list fleshed out. Because if you send an email blast out, you have to have the email list to send customers to. And don't forget your old customers. They might not be coming by as much as they had been, but old customers are worth their weight in gold, I like to say. I mean, they already made a decision to come to you. So reach out to them. Reach out to them. Maybe you can have a after COVID-19 gift certificate. You send out a gift certificate to all your customers, hopefully via an email list that you've established. You send out this email list and say, when you're feeling safe again, when you're feeling like you want to get out, come and visit us. Here's a $5 coupon. Give your old customers something. Now, a secret on coupons is don't have all the, if you send out 1,000 coupons, and hopefully you have, a great deal number of customers, hundreds of customers at least, but however many you have, when you send out a coupon, gift certificate, don't have the expiration date all the same. Stagger the expiration dates so that people will come in and it's staggered time frame. You don't want everybody coming in the same 2-week period. Stagger those expiration dates so people will spread out. And you know what? You're still going to have a bunch of people come in the first period because they don't look at expiration dates. That's no problem. Honor the coupon, honor the coupon, honor the gift certificate, even if it doesn't come in when it's supposed to. But a lot of people will look at the expiration dates and they'll plan their visit a little farther out. And that will spread out the customer surge hopefully you're going to have. Why? Because you're advertising a brand new message that's developed to meet the new demands of the current marketplace. And that's going to give you a competitive advantage and make your business successful. Yeah, budget here. There's going to be some budget characteristics. I talked already a little bit about this, but cash flow, get money in, money out, and money left over. And so if you have new expenses, you might have to work them into your budget, your operating budget. If you have to hire more staff, what are you going to do with the other staff and so forth and so on. Yeah, there's some critical decisions here as far as budgeting for the new COVID marketplace. So don't forget the money. Don't forget about budgeting in terms of making sure you have the proper staff, proper inventory, on hand to make sure you can get that message out there for what you're trying to do now. So don't forget about working capital and a new budget. Yeah, here's a little bit on working capital, but I've already talked quite a bit about this. But yeah, how much will changes cost you to implement? Will you need new equipment? How much will it cost you to implement your new marketing changes? And what other demands, are going to be made on your cash flow? So, keeping track of your cash flow and your budgets very critical for making all this happen. All right. Well, that's the presentation brought to you by the people listed here. We thank you for tuning in. I have my information here as far as my email address and my business website. So you're welcome if you have questions as we move forward through this pandemic and afterwards. I'll be happy to field questions from you as for an email. And right now, I guess Diane said if there are any verbal questions you want to give us, we're standing by. Diane?
Yes, so I don't have any questions in the chat, but Tan, do you have any questions? And I see that Adam joined us. Thank you, Adam, for joining us as well. Ruben, as always, great information. You are always a wealth of knowledge. I really enjoy listening to your presentations.
Well, good. I appreciate that. And when that gets posted, will you actually keep a record of that? Who goes on to see it?
We are able to see the number of views on our different places, but not necessarily who views it. So
that's okay. I'm just interested.
Yeah. So we did get some chat feedback. No questions, but great information. So.
Well, great. I'm glad everybody appreciated it. And stay tuned. In the coming weeks, we're going to have one of these for several more weeks at the lunchtime. So if you can grab a sandwich and open your computer or your phone, we'll be happy to have you join us.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ruben. Great information. And Rockingham Update will have these produced and up on the website soon. So thank you all for joining us and have a great rest of your afternoon.
All right, everybody. Good day.